unaware that the storm is over and we are back. And not only are we back, but we are starting on Sundays. First ever, at least of this NBA season, NBA Strategy Show, Sunday, February 9th. Myself, Sal Vetri, here to break down a lovely 6-game slate. Sal, how's your weekend so far?
Yeah, man, the weekend's been good. Got a little bit of that XFL action in yesterday, and it wasn't too bad. It was better than I thought it would be, so that's pretty good. And yeah, NBA on a Sunday. I like the size of this slate.
How did XFL go for you?
Right now, it's sitting fine. I mean, there's still 2 games left, but I think everything looks fine. The team that I think people who were paying attention, Houston Roughnecks, ending up scoring a ton of points, like somewhat expected. So ended up going okay on Saturday so far.
I didn't realize it was like a split slate.
Yeah, they're doing so. I think FanDuel only offered 2, like just the day of slates, but DraftKings has the full split 4-game slate.
Okay. I had no idea whatsoever, but that's not my wheelhouse. Thought you and Chris did a great job breaking that down.
Thanks.
I'm going to pull up lineup study for last night. I know very little about what happened in the NBA. I was watching the UFC pay-per-view, which did not go well from a DFS perspective, but it was a fun, entertaining card to check out. So I will open up the $15 fadeaway from DraftKings. Bills fan taking down a Hundy spot. Adam finished 11th. Actually, I believe Adam won a 3 max last night. Let me find that. Yes, Ship My Money took down the $200 3 max on DraftKings. Let's take a peek at his lineup. Had to win eventually, Adam. Had to win eventually. Now, I'm comfortable saying that because there's absolutely no chance that you are watching or listening to this show on a Sunday morning. I've never been more comfortable in my entire life. Adam's winning lineup: Terrence Davis, Drew Holiday, Buddy Hield, Christian Wood, Derek Favors, Malik Beasley, 48 fantasy points at 3,200. Whew. Pascal Siakam, kind of a bust. Karl Anthony Towns at 57. Let's see. Wow, I didn't realize that the Timberwolves hung 142 points on the Clippers last night.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize any of this till this morning either. I wasn't really too up to date with the NBA once the game started yesterday. But yeah, I saw that they announced that they were going to want to use Beasley pretty extensively. And then once he got the starting lineup nod, not expecting that much, but definitely great value.
Craziness. Go Wolves. Go Wolves. Highest owned player yesterday, at least. Let's get out of that contest back to the $15 since ownership will be weird. Fred VanVleet dropped 41, 6x. That's fine. Christian Wood, 50% as well. Dropped 6x, also fine. Biggest bust, not Malik Beasley, who went for 15x. Crazy number. Not a lot of busts at the top at all. Nikola Jokic went for 4.7. I mean, that's not what you're looking for, but it's not like he fully bageled. Serge Ibaka at 18%, 3.6x. Maxey, 3.9. De'Aaron Fox, probably a little bit of a letdown, but looks like the chalk held up pretty well yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of high-scoring games in general. I think the Lakers and Golden State went well over the over, and then it just ended up having, I think when I was looking this morning, like close to 15 or close to 20 players with like 48-plus fantasy points. Just high-scoring slate.
It really was. So shout out to Bills fans. Shout out to Adam for taking down the 3 max. Reason that I knew that happened was because I woke up to that as a DM. He was talking about, changing up some of the contests that he wanted to play, but how that 3 max just looked like a really unappealing first place prize. And sure enough, went ahead and took down that specific contest. It's funny.
Was it like a 10K to first or something?
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind sharing this. We were talking and he said, today is only 10K to first, which is boring AF, LOL. And then essentially 12 hours later, the message was, and I immediately win that 3 max. So congrats to Adam, though, for real, for taking down that 10K.
Yeah, definitely.
Congrats to everybody that had some success yesterday. And congrats to the Duke Blue Devils for taking down the North Carolina Tar Heels without any form of controversy whatsoever at the end of the game.
Yeah, I was definitely paying close attention to that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, man, right. This area was live, and you could like see just literally in bars it was fantastic to see the ending of it, because like I wasn't even paying attention to at that point as much the game as opposed to just like the split reactions in the room.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you probably heard the reaction of the shot going up,
Yeah.
just from every single place that had a television in Raleigh.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Like I think my apartment building, before I even left it, you could just hear that and like sense that everybody had the game on.
Yeah, I remember being at the bar when Austin Rivers hit the 3 at the buzzer to win it, and it was half pandemonium. Actually, like a third pandemonium. Most people in the state of North Carolina just hate Duke.
Yeah.
It's crazy. UNC and NC State rule the roost here. They, in turn, both hate Duke and tolerate each other slightly more. It's a fantastic dichotomy.
NC State is just like it's so neutral. Like so many people love them, but you rarely hear people say bad things.
Oh, yeah, right. And they're always like, well, at least they're not Duke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fantastic. I was surprised at the split when I got down here. I'm less so surprised now that I've been down here for a while. But that's not what anybody wants to hear about. Nobody cares about the state comings and goings in college basketball. What they care about is Super Draft. Go to superdraft.io, use the promo code AWESEMO, and get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $100 deposit or more. Today they're running the 15K jump shot, 3K to first. They had it bummed me out that I was live on the stream. I was scrambling to try and get money down and money deposited as quick as possible. They overlaid by like 600 entries on Friday. It was massive. I just couldn't get into it in time because we were hosting the show. You guys need to be taking advantage of these situations. They're putting out really nice prize pools. And if they're coming up short, you guys want to take advantage. That is a major benefit to you. Anytime that you can trim the rake or even not have it exist at all, you should be doing that. I highly recommend you go there. Go to superdraft.io. You don't have to worry about salaries. You could roster whoever you would like. Each player has a specific multiplier. I'm going to be working that into the spreadsheet a little bit more. Going to add those columns in between DraftKings and Yahoo in the near future, probably for tomorrow morning. So get ready for that. But just go to superdraft.io and use that promo code AWESEMO. And sign up at awesemo.com/join. Use the promo code NBA Strategy. Get yourself 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus. We've got it all. We're tackling every sport constantly. Shows, nonstop, projections, rankings, ownership. You name it, we've got it. You can get it for 50% off using that promo code NBA Strategy. 6 games. 3 games at 6, so lock at 6 o'clock like normal on a Sunday. And then late night hammer, Portland and Miami. But I'm ready to dive in if you are.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Here we go. First game up on the list. I don't even know how we talk about something like this. The Atlanta Hawks taking on the New York Knicks. The Hawks have Trae Young questionable. DeAndre Bembry questionable. Cam Reddish doubtful. This whole team is just a war zone. DeAndre Hunter questionable. Clint Capella still not available. I have no idea what Dwayne Dedmon's status is. He was not cleared to play for Friday. I'm assuming that he would be cleared to play today, but I have not seen anything that says that he is. And then Bruno Fernando is probable. Hawks are 2.5 point favorites at home against the Knicks if you need any sign of how bad the New York Knicks are. But hit me with this. What do you think Atlanta is, or how are you projecting Atlanta's lineup for right now?
Yeah, so I currently have Hunter, Horder, and Trae Young. I have them all of them projected in. I'm not projecting in right now. Dedmon is the only one I'm not projecting in. So that's just the best way that I can kind of handle it. Especially Hunter was the big piece of it. A guy who plays around 30 minutes. If I don't project him in right now, I have just no idea what they end up doing with tossing all those minutes like Vince Carter and Trevion Graham. So That's why I projected it. The
Okay.
thing that stands out the most is probably Hunter or Hoarder. Hunter stands out a little bit more because of the price of 4,100. But as we'll work through this slate, there's more appealing games. I think he's okay. Hunter, Kevin Hoarder, and Trae Young are right now in a player pool for me. Young is not a priority pay up option for me on this slate. But I mean, we know the ceiling, we know the variance on him. I think he's fine. I have him for around 52 fantasy points right now.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. I like him a lot more on FanDuel than I do on DK. 9,700 works, but at that point, he's still not a highly ranked point guard for me. Kevin Huerter, I think, stands out as my favorite play at 5K on FanDuel. This is just a good spot against the Knicks, although their defense has actually been slightly better than average over their last 15 games. It's a relatively, it's a slight pace down spot for Atlanta. There's just not much here that I like. DeAndre Hunter for 4,100 on DK looks okay. I have the same guys in as you. I left Deadman out. I have the other guys in. Spencer S. Josh, you hung over. Not a drop of booze yesterday, my friend. Not a drop of booze. I'm tired. That's a very different scenario, but same symptoms, oddly enough, for me. When I'm sleepy, I feel like I'm hungover. Yeah, I don't mind if I show up with Trae Young or potentially John Collins in a couple lineups, but right now, Kevin Huerter as a mid-tier value play is all I want, and that's mostly just FanDuel. I expected to like them more, but they're really just not very good.
Yeah, they're not great. And we're going to see, like, in a second, there's just on this 6-game slate, 3 or 4 games that project out really nicely, one that stands above the rest. And
Yeah.
these two teams, I mean, it's just nothing that stands out that much. Like, if you wanted to get to Trae Young, I think that's fine. I was expecting to like Collins a little bit more. And right now, I'm really not having much interest at that price tag.
I agree. We could ship it over to the New York Knicks side. Knicks are going to be without Marcus Morris as he now plays for Los Angeles. I don't believe there's any other major Knicks news. Damian Dotson was available yesterday. I assume he's available today. I believe everybody else is available. Do you have Mo Harkless in the lineup?
I didn't give him any minutes, no.
Okay, same. I don't think that it matters all that much. You're just going to be trimming the fat off of. And I actually did put him in for 18, but they have a never-ending supply of guys that are completely not valuable from a DFS perspective. You can move minutes around pretty easily. Julius Randle, 8,200 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DK. This is a major pace-up spot for the Knicks. $33 on Yahoo, actually, for Randle would be my favorite price tag of anything from New York. I think Elfrid Payton is fine on FanDuel at 7,300, but that's getting to the upper bounds of what I would like to pay for him. And if you're a Mitchell Robinson fan, you could always hope for the best of getting a couple block shots. What do you want to do with New York?
Yeah, so the two guys that I have at a player pool right now early on are Randall. I think it's an okay spot at 8,400. Nothing that screams out anything crazy. He would be my second favorite play from the team. And if you're looking for some sort of value, Bobby Portis I have in maybe a little bit high of 20 minutes. He's been playing somewhere on the higher teens, 18, 19 as of late. But at that point, it just grades out as okay value in the matchup against Atlanta. There's still no Clint Capella. We don't know what's going on with Dwayne Dedmon. So a better matchup down low. And he's a guy who can pick up a ceiling more minutes depending on Mitchell Robinson on a shorter slate. So Portis, Randall. I mean, yeah, Mitchell Robinson, like you said, if you think it's one of the higher minute games or even just 2 more minutes, it becomes more appealing. So I'd go Portis and Randall here, but just really, really not appealing at all.
Portis has been so bad lately. In my model, he's a 0.99 FanDuel point per minute guy. Over the last 30 days, 0.77.
Wow. Yeah, I have him at 0.9 right now. So, yeah, that's not great.
No, not a good stretch for him. But I really do just find this Knicks team to be wildly underwhelming. Outside of Randall, I guess.
Yeah, is it just the fact like it could be anybody for that day? Like why Wayne Ellington has been getting more run the last 2 games?
I have no idea. I would have thought that he started getting run before the trade deadline, so they can maybe cash him in, get like a generic second rounder or something. I don't know what to make of this team. There's just too many dudes, and none of them are any good, so any one of them can see the floor for a reasonable amount of time. You can project this rotation to be 10, 11, 12 guys. It can be more than that, depending on who's actually available. I just see the Knicks as too hard to project. 112 implied total is not good at all. There are so many better spots that I don't have anything else for this game.
Yeah, no. The thing that I get to the most here is either Trey or Julius Randle, and that's if you're probably trying to get different today.
Alrighty. Let's move on to I don't even want to talk about these guys. The Philadelphia 76ers, who are breaking my heart daily, so long as they are not playing their game in the city of Philadelphia, taking on the Chicago Bulls with a 101.25 implied total. As of right now, I have everybody in for Philly, save for Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson, who I believe are still not available. How are you projecting the Philly rotation right now in the game where they are 11.5-point favorites?
Yeah, so I ended up putting Embiid in Horford in right now. I didn't put Burks or Robinson either there. So Burks and Robinson are both like right now ruled out, but it's not official. They said there's a chance that can change, so just leaving it as out. Kyle O'Quinn, I just projected as not getting any run either.
Same. As for the Sixers, nobody's standing out crazily except for the fact that Joel Embiid is 8,200 on DraftKings. That price is broken. He's going to be heavy chalk no matter what. It actually would probably be a really good game to like sit Joel Embiid, but that's neither here nor there. 8,200, you just play him. You don't even bat an eye at it. That is a price tag that is unavoidable. Not a problem with him at 9,300 on FanDuel. No issue. I will have a little bit of volume going to Ben Simmons on FanDuel at 8,800. I don't mind Al Horford, but again, that's more filler than anything else. Embiid on DK is the star.
Yeah, Embiid's the guy for me as well. So I only, and it stands out like a sore thumb, I only put him at 30 minutes. It is a neck injury. So if he plays, I don't think there's going to be any limitations on him today. And even if I just reduce point per minute production just to not have 100% of the guy or somewhere close to that, he still looks great. Have him for 46 fantasy points at 8,200. The matchup is really hard to ignore where at best Chicago will have Daniel Gafford getting to play today with a questionable tag. No Laurie or Randall Carter still. Yeah, it's just a broken price. Like, it doesn't matter how bad the Sixers are playing or the fact that he's standing at the 3-point line half the time on offense. It's just $1,000 to $2,000, probably too cheap for Embiid. He stands out the most to me. The rest looks like filler. Simmons at 8,600, I think is fine. If you get the upper part of his minutes, he should be okay, but nothing of priority. Tobias Harris, pretty much the same thoughts there if he gets his 34, 35 minutes, but nothing of priority. Just think these guys are appropriately priced after that. I'm not getting too much Horford right now. I have him grading out as a neutral play. He's just usually a guy that if Embiid is in there and healthy, I just try and stray away from.
I agree. I have very little interest in Tobias Harris. No Jay Rich. Do you think Furkan Korkmaz is going to go crazy again?
Yeah, what did he drop like 30 something, 34 something like that?
Yeah, massive value play.
Yeah, I have Korkmaz and Thibault as like just okay values, but I mean you're getting like high teens fantasy points at that point, and there's probably 5 to 6, 7 other guys who have more upside.
Yeah, I have very little interest in getting to Korkmaz. I had zero of that little performance on Friday. Let's head over to the Chicago side. This one's kind of important. Did you project Zach LaVine in?
So I projected him in. I remember the news report on him was it was something of interest because I went in to read it to see if I should project him in or not, and
he did not practice yesterday.
Yeah, he did not practice yesterday. It was whiplash related, very similar to I think Embiid, a neck injury. But I think they said yesterday's practice was more precautionary, so I just took that as if they had a game yesterday, he would have played. So I'm just projecting him to play today.
Yeah, I also have him in right now. Wonder what the line would be if he were out. It's going to get pretty big. Ultimately, if Zach LaVine is in, he's the only guy from Chicago that I have any interest in. Thad Young, Satoransky, Hutch, I'm okay. I think their prices are right where they should be. And then if LaVine is out, all hell breaks loose for Chicago because they're probably going to have an implied total below 100. But they are going to free up just infinite amounts of usage, and we're going to find value plays that we don't really want. So what do you want to do with Chicago as a whole?
Yeah, LaVine, he doesn't even stand out relative to the slate, but on his team, he stands out for me. And then Kobe White at 4,600, coming off of 31-minute game. Still no Chris Dunn here. I'm projecting him for 28 minutes. Really tough defensive matchup for any type of wing or guard against Philly, especially if Thibault is going to be playing high 30s or high 20s, close to 30s in minutes. But I think he looks like okay value right now. Early in the day, only gets better depending on Levine. No real interest, like you said, in the Satoranskis. You'll see like value in the high teens for guys like Felicio and Hutchinson, depending on how many minutes you give them. But for me, it's Kobe White, then Levine, and how much I'm going to be getting to these guys.
Okay. If Levine is out, White is going to look fantastic. I think that Arcidiacono ends up being someone that at least shows a little bit of value. Satoransky probably sees a mild usage boost. Shaq Harrison is probably in play at that point because there's just going to be so many minutes and so much usage to fill. Does anybody stand out to you just immediately if Levine is out as a guy that you think you would want to get to a lot?
Yeah, Kobe White, and I think the field would be there too because I'm getting to him at decent clips right now. I would imagine I have him for like 23.8 fantasy points. So if Levine ended up getting ruled out, I'd just give more minutes to him around the 30-31 mark, and then just overall production goes up. I would imagine also Satoransky becomes a little bit more appealing. Arcidiacono starts to become maybe even in a player pool, but not really anything overwhelming.
Okay. Anything else in this game?
I think it's at least worth mentioning. Cristiano Felicio, I would imagine he gets a little bit more run today. It doesn't matter who they throw out there if Embiid's going to be playing. It's not going to be a great matchup for them, but 3,200 coming off a 28-minute game. I'm not projecting him for that much, but a center who's cheap on DraftKings, it's going to take up a spot for opportunity cost reasons, but at least worth mentioning that he's in a player pool right now for me of about 50 guys.
Keep an eye. Daniel Gafford, questionable.
Yep.
That could be problematic in that scenario. 3,200 for Felicio, so it's not like you're going to die out there for it. But with Gafford coming back, that just complicates the center rotation a little bit more.
Definitely.
Washington Wizards, Memphis Grizzlies. Wizards 119 implied total, second highest on the slate. Memphis Grizzlies 121, obviously the highest on the slate. Memphis's defense has been pretty good as of late, 3% better than average. This is going to be a really fast-paced game. From the Wizards side, I have a little bit of interest in Bradley Beal, 10-3 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DraftKings. I have a little bit of interest in Troy Brown. I probably overproject that dude every single day. I thought that I would want more of the Wizards, but again, for some reason, I am just not getting there with any of these guys. Their pricing seems pretty efficient, and I don't know if I'm going to see much of Washington in my lineups. What do you want to do with the Wizards?
Yeah, so I think I have a little bit more interest in Beal right now. I have him for today around a 1.3 guy. The pace should be fine here. Obviously, really good environment wherever Washington goes and plays, and Memphis is just a good matchup for him. So I like Beal probably the most, but everything else it becomes a little bit more difficult, at least for me. So no Thomas Bryant, foot injury re-aggravated. To project in, how are you projecting, I guess, sort of their front court? Because right now, Rui's been playing more minutes. Mo Wagner's minutes are slowly coming up. And Jan Mahimni's going to, I imagine, still get run. So I have it right now for Rui at 28, Mo Wagner at 20, and Mahimni at 22. And that gives me interest in all those guys, the most to Rui at that point at 4,800. So Rui and Beal stand out the most, but how are you looking at the front court?
I have it Rui 28, Mahinmi 20, Mo Wagner 18, and I have no interest in any of them.
That's fair.
I don't feel great about that. Like, I think that one of them comes through from the pack and is like viable, but I have no like confidence in figuring out who that is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like all these, they're all coming back from injury for the most part. I mean, Mo Wagner, the most recent there, but if you got Wagner playing 24 minutes today, he's a guy who at 4,400 is a smash. So like right now, or maybe not a smash, but a great play compared to the 18 or 20. So like right now, those guys are all in a player pool for me. Rui looks the best, Wagner, and then Mahimni's not. But I think I'm just going to put it in there and really have them in there because where they'll project out median for me isn't as great, but hope that just some sort of minutes variance gets them there.
That's fair. Anybody else from Washington? Ish Smith, Napier. I don't know if you think that Jerome Robinson is going to get crazy minutes now that he's there. I don't.
Yeah, no, I didn't project Robinson right now. I mean, if they say that he's cleared and maybe he is, and then I'll give him some. But yeah, Ish, I had interest in early on, but then just realizing Napier's there, he's probably going to get a little bit more run than his first game, and just kind of pushed Ish down a minute or two. It doesn't look that appealing.
Okay. On the Memphis side, lots to like here, in my opinion. Washington's defense stinks. This is going to be a fast game, highest implied total. So I've got Joval in for 27 minutes. I like him across the board, 7K, 7,100, $27 on Yahoo, probably my favorite price. And then we get into like all of the dudes. Ja Morant, 6,200 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DK. I am in. Jaren Jackson, 6,400 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DK. I am in. Dylan Brooks, 5,500 on FanDuel, 4,900 on DraftKings. I am in. D'Anthony Melton, 4K on DK, I think works as a value play. There are a ton of options coming from Memphis. What do you like the most?
Yeah, I'm pulling up I believe they're still dead last, Washington, right, in points per possession on defense. I'm just pulling up cleaning the glass for that. But every single name you just said I have is a yes right now. They're the only guys that I have in there, like not going to get to Tyus Jones or Clark. But yeah, I think that all these guys are underpriced for the matchup that they're in. You're getting Ja Morant for like the last week and a half has been relatively underpriced. Now you're getting him in a matchup that he should thrive in. 6,300 stands out as the guy that I might get to the most, but Dylan Brooks right there, Jaren Jackson as well. Really hard to kind of distinguish between these guys, just with the price range is a little bit different. I think Joval stands out. I have him at 28 minutes. He looks even better there. And D'Anthony Melton at 4K. He's slowly getting his minutes back. Even if I just give him 22 and not a 24-minute game or 25, 26 like he played before his injury, he looks great at $4,000. He's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute producer this year. And it's a situation where I thought that might not be as stable moving forward. I even have him at just a 0.95 guy today, and he still stands out.
This is just like a fantastic spot. It doesn't get much better than a bad defense that also plays fast. It's going to be hard to avoid the Grizzlies. They're clearly the best option. I have one other question for you.
Yep.
Any interest in Gorgeous Dong? Flat minimum on DraftKings today.
I saw that, so this is actually interesting. So Bell, Dang, and then Waiters, I really don't know how to project them. What I pretty much did was give them minutes, but I guess it makes sense with the rotations and that Memphis already has to not think that one of those guys jumps in and plays like 26 or 24. I pretty much gave them like mid-low teens in minutes for all those guys, and nothing stands out. But yeah, I mean, it's similar to earlier. If you think that like he can go out there and play 18 or 20 minutes in this rotation, then it's at least worth having in a player pool. But right now I have no interest. I really don't know what to do with those three guys.
It's tricky, right? It's tricky.
Yeah. Today might be, maybe tomorrow, like the last day where we don't have like any indication of how these players are going to be factored in after the trade deadline, if they're going to play at all, if they're going to like Malik Beasley be a huge part of the team.
Yeah. I think that one's just intriguing because of being the flat minimum on DK. You're not paying 4,400 for him on FanDuel, but if for some reason he ends up being like, the straight backup to Joval or something along those lines, or, Joval gets in foul trouble and he soaks up any minutes, 3K for a guy that's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy could get really interesting on a 6-gamer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like median wise, it's never going to look great, which means same thing in optimizers. So that's exactly what you're playing for. There is the like uncertainty that he could pick up 18 backup minutes. And if Joval, obviously his minutes are even variant, a little bit stable as of late, but yeah, like I have him at 10 minutes, but I'm not shocked if he told me he plays 16, 18, 20 tonight.
Yeah. I gave him 14. That's the only thing that like makes him show up for anything of value right now. But when you're talking about 3K guys, you don't have to talk yourself into very much. Are all of your favorite plays in this game from Memphis, or like does Beal rank ahead of anybody with volume?
I'll pull that up right now. I'm gonna say so Beal for me is Beal's my number 18 play today, but then Memphis they might all be above him. Brooks I have as number 7, Jaren Jackson I have as 8, Morant I have as 12, Melton as 13. So I think Beal is slightly ahead of Joval for me by like 2 spots.
Okay. Anything else from this game?
No, I think that's all. I guess I'll just say that we know Washington's defense is bad, dead last in defense on the season and just points per possession, as well as the last 2 weeks. It's even worse, getting worse the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, so rough. But you know what you guys can do right now? I haven't said this in a week. Well, I
What is
haven't
it?
said it and meant it and had it be correct. Hit that like button on YouTube, guys, if you're there. Follow us on Twitch if you're still watching there, because we do appreciate that. Hit the notification bell on YouTube so you know when we go live. And subscribe to the channel so you can get access to everything that we have to offer. Coming up later today, live before lock, EMAC, Fast Eddie Fear, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, live before lock. It's really all we've got. NBA rankings are free today. NHL rankings are free today. There was supposed to be a 2-game Premier League slate. One of those games, West Ham and Man City, was postponed due to weather, which you do not see all that often in soccer. So, yeah, basketball. And what time does XFL games kick off today?
I believe they're both 2 and 5 again today.
There you go. How did it look, all things considered?
It actually was. I actually thought it was really good. So I watched the entire first game while doing other stuff around the house, and then the first half of the second game. And I mean, I had family members and friends who weren't really paying anywhere near as much attention as like people in the DFS industry, but they really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was really fun to see, and I'm waiting for something really like kind of tragic football wise to happen. Like they interviewed kickers after they were missing kicks. It was just cool stuff to see. Like I want to see stuff when like the Juju Smith-Schuster in the playoffs 2 years ago, fumbling the season away. I want to see interviews like that. But no, they were up with it. You had all the betting information. Announcers were very educated in talking about the betting in certain situations. The under was like in the first game, it was a 51.5 spread. It went 51 with like a missed extra or a missed like 2-point conversion at the end. So they were talking about all that. I thought it was a very good showing, and yeah, they did a great job, just like social media wise, keeping everybody engaged.
Awesome. Good to hear. Well, on that note, let's keep it moving. Ooh, whoa, that's interesting. Got to get back to Slack. Houston Rockets, Utah Jazz. Rockets 118.25 implied total. Jazz 114.75. I think we know what's going on with Houston at this point. 11-5 for James Harden on FanDuel, 11-7 on DraftKings. That is going to be a tough sell. 10-1 for Russ, 9,800 on DK. I prefer Russ to Harden in this spot, at least for today. After that, the rest of Houston, I think, is pretty appropriately priced. If Eric Gordon is out, that could open up a little bit of time and a little bit of value. If he is in for 4,500 on DK, it's okay, but I see the Rockets in a really tough spot here, even with a 118 implied total.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's really good pricing here. Yeah, I have Gordon, I believe, in right now, but yeah, it'll change some stuff. Maybe makes Covington a little bit more interesting, Daniel House, but I doubt it with both Westbrook and Harden back. Yeah, Harden, probably not somebody I plan on getting to. He ranks out right now as like my 50th option at that price point. Russ is a little bit more appealing. He ranks out for number 20 for me at this point. Ended up giving just full run of minutes, around 52 fantasy points. I would prefer guys like Beal for similar price point, just easier matchup there, better game environment. But Russ right now is the only thing I'm going to get to from this team. Outside of that, no interest in the Tuckers. I think Covington's interesting because I think there's a higher upside to what he could play in minutes, and we haven't seen it yet. But if I project him at like 28 minutes, it's not appealing.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of Covington those first 2 games, not so much now. Don't mind if I get there, but I think he's pretty appropriately priced at this point. I don't think I'll get too much PJ Tucker, although thank God they've dropped that price from the outlandish 6,000+. 4,500 on FanDuel is good enough. More interested on the Utah side. Pace up spot for the Jazz. Houston's defense not good as of late. I like Rudy Gobert, probably my favorite play across both sites. Donovan Mitchell looks good, 7,100, 7,300. I don't even mind getting to mid-5s. Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Boyan, maybe even Royce O'Neal for 3,400 if you can't find any value anywhere, although getting a 0.67 fantasy point per minute guy is rarely appealing to me. But I really do like the main 5 guys from the Jazz. Have a hard time putting them in order. I would say Boyan would definitely be last, but depending on what you need positionally, I think the rest of these guys work in this spot.
Yeah, I agree. I have an interest in the So Mitchell, Gobert, Conley, and Bojan stand out to me right now. I think the ownership might follow it, but Conley at 5,400, if I give him 30 minutes, he's probably the guy that I would get to the most factoring in price. Gobert, I think he's fine. And I was thinking this earlier a little bit too. At that price point of 8,000, if Embiid is in play, we'll get to the Clippers with Kawhi on a back-to-back, potentially probably not playing, and how that affects a guy like Paul George in that price range. I don't know how much, when it comes to prioritizing him over similarly priced guys at his position and just at different positions across the slate, how much I'll end up getting to him. Like in a vacuum, I think he is my favorite guy in Utah. I just don't know how much that actually comes through at the end of the day. Conley, Mitchell, Bojan all stand out. I like all of them. I have Ingles in a player pool right now towards the bottom end of it. Yeah, it's just a really good spot for this team. Houston should become a little bit more stingy defensively as we go on, but they're playing at such a fast pace that it's not going to be today, and it's probably not going to stop this team. And just really good pricing on all these guys. I guess I will point out, I don't know if it means much. I don't know if it's a short sample. I was trying to indicate like what players might have been off the court in this time, and really it's just since Conley's come back. But Utah right now over their last 10 games, and again, smaller sample, but they rank 25th. So bottom six in defense right now and 24th in offense. So I don't know if it's just a small spurt. I don't know if it's a factor of the schedule and the teams have been playing, but not great.
No, not great at all. Shout out to Dave for the super chat. Been smashing NBA lately. Thanks, guys. Pour one out for the doctor. I completely agree. I appreciate any time you could take those sorts of shots. Do you like... it's kind of a hard question to answer just because of the salary difference, but like, where does Westbrook rank for you relative to these guys from the Jazz?
So relative to salary, I have Conley above Westbrook. I have Bojan above Westbrook, and I think I have Gobert. So Mitchell, let me find where Mitchell is. Mitchell's the only guy that I have below Westbrook right now. Mitchell ranks out for me as 27th. Westbrook ranks out as 20th.
Okay. Yeah, I have Westbrook 27th. He is 2 spots ahead of Bojan. So, anything else from Houston and Utah?
No, that's all. I think that, I mean, it doesn't matter, but Ed Davis is likely to come back. Just makes your Tony Bradley, Ed Davis backup minutes different.
Alrighty, let's head to Cleveland. Cavs 109.25 implied total, second lowest on the slate. Clippers 116.75. Cavs defense is worst in the league over the last 15 days. Clippers actually haven't been fantastic, but we'll start on the Cleveland side. I have no idea what to do with this team right now. I rarely like Colin Sexton and Darius Garland either way. I don't mind Sexton on FanDuel at 6,200. What do we do with Andre Drummond, Tristan Thompson, and Larry Nance? Kevin Love's going to play 30 to 32 minutes or whatever, and like that piece isn't going to change. What are we doing with Drummond, Thompson, and Nance?
So this is what I wanted to get your take on it too, and see how we differ. So right now I gave Love 32 minutes. I ended up giving Drummond the start for 28, Thompson 20 backup minutes, and then Nance I gave 18 minutes behind Love. I'm not sure how much they'll need to even think about using Nance as like a 3 in this situation with Porter healthy and Osman there. So I guess I'm just giving Drummond the start at this point. If he doesn't start, I would probably just give 26 at that point to Thompson, maybe even split it 24-24. But they want to give Drummond, from all the interviews I saw, they want to give him a lot of run. I don't know if that comes anywhere close to the 36 minutes he was playing a game in Detroit, but that's where I'm at right now on it, and it makes really a lot of these guys just unappealing.
Yeah, I gave Drummond 28. I gave Nance 16. I gave Thompson 20. I don't have a single clue what they are going to do here. You could tell me that Tristan Thompson doesn't play a single second. I would believe it. I just don't know how they are going to manage this. And I don't think that we have any real clue. You have to assume that Drummond is their priority. They're not trading for him in this scenario for him to not get minutes. So I don't want him at all a 10-3 on FanDuel or 9,400 on DK. But if you told me that he played 34 minutes and, Kevin Love helped space the floor and Drummond had a monster day, I'd believe it. But for right now, I can't really recommend getting to anything from Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree. Like Love's price is okay, but you don't know the impact with a better rebounder standing next to him for most of those minutes. Love is my highest ranked Cav, and he's at 48 for me. And then Garland would be after that at 54. And Love makes the player pool barely. Garland does not. It's just really tough to kind of project point per minute how this offense is going to look, like you said. And they have depth now with everybody healthy. So it's not like Nance or somebody else can move to a different position with Porter there playing big minutes, Osman as well, and obviously the guards. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I do think they'll start drumming like we talked about, but and like you said, he could play 35 minutes and Thompson can just get the short end of the stick there, and then he looks like a fine play, but I'm just not going to project it that way.
Okay. Let's go to the Clippers side. Not expecting Kawhi Leonard to be playing this game. That was something that I caught as we were going live. So I'm going to throw it to you right away. I think that Montrezl Harrell looks pretty good at 5,500 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DK, $26 on Yahoo. I think Lou Will looks pretty good for 5,400 on FanDuel. Paul George is playing well, but I'm not entirely sure that he's going to be seeing big minutes here to pay off an 8K salary. You're never mad that you have Paul George. How do you see the rest of this rotation checking out? Is Marcus Morris in it for you? Is he viable for you? How are you managing the Clippers in a great spot against Cleveland?
Yeah, so I have no Kawhi, and whenever that ends up happening, especially in the matchup against Cleveland, it looks really good. The difference here is like Lou Will is actually priced decent at 6,800 instead of being like 6K flat for this situation. So I think they might have been ahead of it there. But Lou Will grades out as my number one play right now. Harrell and George are in my top 10. So I end up giving Lou Will a 1.31 guy with Kawhi off the court. He just gets more time by himself and or with Harrell and not with George on the court. So just he gets to run the show. Even if I put him at around like 1.2 today, give him 30, 32 minutes because Beverly, so this is a big piece of news as well. Beverly missed last night with a groin injury. I also have him projected out. So
yeah, I have Beverly out as well.
Yeah, so it just gives more upside for the minutes of Lou Will at that point. Jerome Robinson's not there anymore, so whoever depth-wise can be there. So he stands out as my favorite play right now at 6,800 against Cleveland. Paul George, I only gave 31 minutes. He's a 1.6 guy with Kawhi off the court. Didn't give him that much of a projection, but put him around like a 1.4 type of player today. He stands out as, I think, my third overall play. And then Harrell cracks the top 10 as well. 1.23 fantasy point per minute guy with no Kawhi on the court. 6,200 is a fine price point. The minutes have been a little bit shaky. I ended up giving him 27 today. You're seeing Zubac play a decent amount of minutes into the 20s pretty consistently now. I still think it's fine. So those three stand out the most. Then it gets interesting because of Morris being there. Didn't play last night. I projected him in for 32 minutes tonight. It's hard to judge. One, he can play 35. It's hard to judge what his point per minute production will be in this offense. So at 6,400, I'm not getting to much. Shamit is another interesting piece. So if you give Shamit, like he was playing 35, 36 when Kawhi is missed in the past, if you give him somewhere around there, he'll stand out, but he's 4,400, so he doesn't stand out that much. And Marcus Morris, if he does play 35 and those extra 2-3 minutes come off of Shamit, it makes him a lot less appealing. So I'd rank it Lou Will, George, Harrell, and they're all in the top 10 for me. They all look really good. And then slight interest, and maybe a little bit more than slight interest as of right now in Shamit and JaMychal Green.
I thought that I would get to more from the Clippers side. And, you know, if we get any Marcus Morris news, maybe that'll change for me. Like, I have Shamit in for 28 minutes. He's just so bad as a DFS guy.
Yeah, he's like 0.6 or something.
Yeah, it's really rough. So I think that he is a viable value play from a point per dollar perspective. I'm not sure how much I'll get to. I think that they're just going to be relatively deep in a game against Cleveland when Cleveland seems to be completely rudderless. Let's see. Joel Embiid will play today. News just came out. So there's that.
Nice.
There's that. Final game. You ready?
Yeah, so you don't have that much interest in like Lou Will or Harrell or George, or you do?
Only Harrell and Lou Will.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have much interest in Paul George. I just don't think that, I think that Paul George is probably going to have a very casual, good game, and I don't know if that's going to be enough on today's slate. But Lou Will on FanDuel, Montrezl Harrell across the board, yeah, sign me up for that. Harrell's probably my favorite play of the day. Hit that like button and follow and subscribe and notification bell and all that good stuff because we back on YouTube. Portland Trail Blazers, Miami Heat, late night hammer. Blazers 3-point favorites at home. They are going to be without Anthony Simons. Not relevant from a DFS perspective for him personally, but I like Portland. Dame, 9,900 on FanDuel, 10-2 on DraftKings. Happy to pay up. Whiteside, 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DK. Looks like a really nice center option across both sites. Not super excited about CJ McCollum, but happy to get there. I think Melo looks pretty good as a power forward value, 5,100 and 4,900. Trevor Ariza, I assume, doesn't get ejected today and looks like a nice value play at just 3,600 on DK. Don't really understand that price tag given this slate. How do you feel about the Trailblazers today against the Heat?
Yeah, I think they stand out as well. I think so. Right now, Whiteside is the guy I like getting to the most. He's another reason why when we talked about Gobert, just maybe gets a little bit more difficult for me to get to Gobert, or somebody's going to end up getting the short end of the stick between Embiid, Whiteside, Paul George for me, and Gobert. So Whiteside looks pretty good for me right now. I have him around 40 fantasy points. I like that. Keep giving McCollum and Lillard around 36. Lillard keeps going over that. So I think he looks, Yeah, I think he looks at 10-2 or 10-2 right now. I think he looks completely fine as well. I would rank Lillard if we're talking pay up options. I have him right now ahead of Westbrook it's pretty much Lillard, Westbrook, and Beal, like almost in a line for me. I have Lillard ahead of Westbrook and right behind Beal. So I like him. I think he's fine. And then, yeah, McCollum, Carmelo Anthony. Anthony's probably the guy I get to the least at this point, just value-wise, and in that price range, just not as it's appealing on the surface and when it's that low of a price tag. But there's some other players in that range I like a little bit more. So I would rank it Whiteside, Lillard, and then McCollum for me. And yeah, these guys look great. The matchup should be completely fine. Miami's been playing as a top 10 defense the last 2 weeks, but closer to middle of the pack on the season without Jimmy Butler is going to hurt today too.
So you said Whiteside, Lillard, then McCollum. Is Melo not close for you?
So Melo, he's in there. I just hate getting to him. So he's, it is for me right now, Whiteside, Lillard, and McCollum are like the exact same for me. I have Lillard like a little bit above, and then Melo would be the next guy in that list. I have him for like 25 and change fantasy points.
Okay. Yeah, I have him, I guess that's probably where we differ. I have him at 28, and he's popping up pretty heavily for me. Apparently, I'm a big Melo guy.
I gave him, it could be the minutes. I gave him 33. He's plays between 33 and 36. So I guess I could be like a minute or two below.
Yeah, I have him in at 33 as well. Okay. I think I'm just pretty high on Carmelo Anthony, or I might just be wrong, and I need to dig in a little bit further. But I definitely want to have exposure to basically all of Portland's starting five. Don't get the sense that I'll get to Gary Trent, although he should see a couple extra minutes with Simons out.
Yeah, I have Trent in a player pool right now, just the price point of 3,800. Like you said, Simon's out. I think he gets a decent amount of run, but it's nothing overwhelming, and probably the first thing I get off of if any value opens up.
Shouts to LL Cool Jeff in our premium Slack. I guess he just heard the piece of how I have Carmelo Anthony projected, and his response was, "Do you got Melo's Syracuse rates in there?" I certainly might. He'd be a much better fantasy player if he was playing with those Syracuse rates.
In those cornrows. Yeah. Cornrow.
And then finally for Miami, it looks like Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala and Solomon Hill will all be available for today. I have Crowder and Iggy playing. I do not have Solomon Hill playing, but that is not going to matter whatsoever. He is not a DFS guy. What I do want to do is play Bam Adebayo, 8K on FanDuel, 8,300 on DraftKings, $34 on Yahoo. I think that looks really nice. Portland's defense has not been anything special as of late. And then Dragic, 5,300 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DK. We're still going to be without Jimmy Butler. We're still without Tyler Hero. I've got Dragic in for 28 minutes, and that feels like a pretty nice price tag for him. Although I'm pretty confident that I have him wildly overprojected. So I'm going to walk that usage rate back just a hair and that assist rate back just a hair. But at the same time, even at those price tags, I'm in. I think Nunn looks good on FanDuel, a little bit less so on DK. Duncan Robinson looks good on FanDuel, a little bit less so on DK. Looks good at $12 on Yahoo. Talk to me about Miami, how you feel about the new guys, if any of them are viable. What do you want to do?
Yeah, so with all these guys off the court and even taking like Winslow off the court for some of his earlier season stuff, you get just really good usage for a guy like Dragic. It's around 26% or so. Depending on who you take off the court, it can go up to 28%. The point per minute production as well just spikes. He's like around a 0.95 guy this year. It spikes to around 1.05. I have him in as a fantasy point per minute producer today. I have him in for 30 minutes. And yeah, he stands out as the guy that I expect to probably get to the most from this team in GPPs. Nunn's pretty close as well. Probably plays a little bit more minutes. Not as good of a point per minute producer. Have him at 0.92 today. And then you just start trickling down to these other guys. Bam, like you mentioned, he doesn't see the craziest of differences when Jimmy's off the court, Butler's off the court, but it also hasn't been the biggest of sample there. So I have him as like a 1.2 guy with Butler off the court. He stands out. So Derrick Jones Jr., Duncan Robinson. It's interesting because this slate has, when you look at Memphis, Utah, it's just like 3 or 4 teams that all look really good. Their entire team underpriced, whether it be injuries or just mispricing in the matchup. I think Miami's one of those teams. I rank it Dragic's, Nunn, Bam, Derrick Jones, and then Duncan Robinson.
Okay. Dragic.
I guess Bam and Nunn are interchangeable depending on like the extra minute that I give Bam or not.
Okay. Yeah, I have Bam tops of the heap for me today. From Miami, Dragic second, Nunn third. But this is a sneaky good DFS game. There is a lot of exposure in play here. I'm figuring, pretty solid to 5 guys from Portland. I think 4 to 5 guys from Miami are also looking good. This is a stark contrast to the Cavs or Hawks, Knicks. There's a lot to come from the late night hammer. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that my currently winning number is going to look pretty bad heading into the 9 o'clock start. And I'm hoping I can close strong.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Some of those are like Chicago and Philly. I mean, obviously Embiid in some pieces there. New York and Atlanta, not the greatest of games. So yeah, I don't expect to have much player minutes going in that point.
Okay. Well, let's sum it up. We 6 games up, 6 games down. Who are your favorite plays on DraftKings for tonight?
Yep, let me pull this up. So favorite plays on DraftKings for tonight for me: Joel Embiid, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, Dylan Brooks, Goran Dragic. We'll go Kendrick Nunn, Bradley Beal, and Hassan Whiteside.
Okay. So on FanDuel at point guard, I like Ja Morant, Damian Lillard, Goran Dragic. Yeah, I'm saying it, Laffy. I'm getting it there. At shooting guard, it's Lou Will, Kevin Huerter, Donovan Mitchell. Small forward is really rough today on FanDuel. If I pull this up, I don't think that Paul George is all that great. I mean, I don't really need Tobias Harris. So it's Carmelo Anthony, Troy Brown, Trevor Ariza, Boyan. Small forward is grimy, real grimy. At power forward, give me Bam, give me Jaren Jackson, give me Julius Randle. And then at center, probably paying down more often than not, $5,500 Montrezl Harrell. I think Rudy Gobert for $7,900 looks pretty good. Probably going to want a little bit of revenge against this Rockets team that took them to task in the opening game for PJ Tucker at the 5 gate. And then Joe Val for $7K. Sign me up for that one.
Yeah.
What do you got going on the rest of the day, Sal?
It's going to be maybe one of the more relaxed days of the week. So I think I might just hang out, try and find something to do here. But yeah, and just hanging out. Probably going to, I don't know if I'll watch XFL as much today, but might enter some of those 2-game slate contests, but really just ride out the 4-game slate of that, play some of this DFS, and then enjoy the afternoon, just relaxing.
There you go. I'm going to do the same. Wife got home last night, so we are going to hang out. She's off riding horses and enjoying herself. So I am ready to enjoy what looks to be a cold but sunny Sunday afternoon. Guys, hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Follow us on Twitch. Follow us on Periscope. Use the promo code AWESEMO if you go to superdraft.io, and you can get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $100 or more deposit. You will have EMAC, Fast Eddie Fear, 5 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, breaking down all 6 of these games once again on Live Before Lock. Sal, anything else?
Nope, that's all for me.
There it is, guys. In and out on a Sunday morning for the first time this NBA season. 55 minutes. When you're good, you're good. Best of luck tonight, guys. We will talk to you later.